Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with a bit of Total War Warhammer quick match gameplay. This time around I'm playing as Vampire Counts against Norsca, led by Morbid ZG on the map Lost Vault of King Lond. So my biggest concern, and I think the biggest concern for vampires when fighting against Norsca, is how to deal with mammoths. And I think that the fact that there are very few answers in the vampire roster to mammoths makes it a very challenging matchup for the vampires to win. So that was very much a primary concern. I didn't want to overcommit to counters to mammoths, but at the same time I knew I had to bring at least a few, and so yeah, that's kind of what I had to build my army around. So first and foremost, my lord, Heinrich Kemmler, coming in of course with Krell, the Chaos Tombblade, Cloak of Smoke and Shadows, Invocation of Nehek, and Raise Dead. No other spells. Just a very solid support lord. Of course, does have Mastery on Death, so he can regen nearby units' HP. Just a very strong sort of buffing support lord. Alongside him, two White Kings, who on top of Krell will give me a very strong melee contingent. They dish out a lot of hurt. They have very high armor. They're one of the better melee heroes. Still in low stats, but melee and attack in particular, but still very solid unit. Decently mobile, providing courage to my units. And and I've divided my infantry up into 3 blocks. Each is skeleton spears in the front, just to absorb any large units, especially mammoths come in from the front, but of course Fimir and that sort of stuff as well. Unit of skeletons and warriors. And behind that, unit of graveguard, just kind of the graveguard being there to deal with the enemy infantry, where the skeletons are just kind of there as a meat shield. In the center, Sternsmen, and same thing on the right-hand block as well. And then in the middle, I do have a corpse cart with Unholy Lodestone, just to provide some additional support, some regen support if Kemmler is forced to run away, or in case I lose Kemmler, that sort of stuff. And then out on the flanks are my real damage dealers, or real anti-armor and anti-large damage dealers, and these are the Cairn Wraiths. I brought 2 units of them. Cairn Wraiths will perform very, very effectively against the one on each flank. They will perform very effectively against the vast majority of Norscan units. And then I do have Blood Knights over here, who are just a general anti-large kind of rear cycle charging. And the Cairn Wraiths will perform very effectively against the vast majority of the Norscan roster. The only problem is that Norsca does have some pretty potent magic. The newly buffed Lord of Metal, Lord of Death, of course, with Fate of Buna, and just the Lord of Fire. There are obviously some damage buffs that can just melt them very quickly. So out on the flanks, my opponent has brought Skin Wolves with armor, 4 units of them, 2 on each flank. And then over here, he does have a Shaman Source of Death, who I'm very worried about, so I'm immediately moving Cairn Wraiths away. And in the center, all he has is Wulfric, the Wanderer, backed by 2 Wirekin, and then 3 Marauder Berserkers, leveled up a little bit. One of them is the Brutes of the Hound, so that will provide him a very long-lasting and pretty effective against lightly armored infantry or light infantry line. My opponent is just simply pushing his chariot through my backline here. I don't really have much to stop it with, and I'm running away with the Cairn Wraiths because I don't want him getting tied down. I'm worried about a Fate of Buna. I didn't realize that my opponent actually hadn't brought Fate of Buna here, but now we'll shortly turn him around and go after him. And actually, Fate of Buna and the power of magic, is the main reason why I don't bring Hex Wraiths. Hex Wraiths are much more mobile, and they can stick on and they do fire damage, which counters the regen on some of the Norscan units very effectively. So they can be rather potent, and here I try to chase him off. Definitely overextend a little bit there. And now pushing into my opponent's flank here. But yeah, Hex Wraiths, despite doing a lot of damage, they're very squishy and very susceptible to magic damage. I can almost bring 2 Cairn Wraiths for a single Hex Wraith. So that means it's much less of a liability. I'll always have 1 unit at least surviving. And then Blood Knights, of course, charging in, getting the full charge in on the Skin Wolves. And then they're backed up by Cairn Wraiths. Frenzy drops on the Skin Wolves, so they immediately lose their immunity to terror. They get terrified off, and that just leaves this unit of Skin Wolves fighting alone against Spears, Cairn Wraiths, and Blood Knights. And as you can see, the Blood Knights aren't losing too badly in that sort of engagement. Here, Skeletons are kind of absorbing my opponent's units. Now, unfortunately, I kind of mistimed this, so the Graveguard don't get there quite as soon as I would have liked. But as you can see, even the Skeletons did some okay damage to Berserkers. Over here, poor Kemmler is running for dear life, trying to escape. My opponent definitely commits very heavily to trying to assassinate Kemmler. I pop Cloak of Mist and Shadows on to prevent him from getting killed. Over here, the Corpse Cart is just kind of maneuvering around, and my opponent would have probably been better off just trying to kill the Corpse Cart, because there's not that much I can do to keep it alive. I do pop Kemmler here shortly, or Krell, sorry, and he's backed up by the Master of Undeath and the Corpse Cart. He is actually almost regenning through his deterioration, so definitely very solid. Means I don't have to overcast in the heck too much. Skin Wolves' armor over here are kind of overwhelming my Spearmen, kind of deal with my Cairn Wraiths. These Cairn Wraiths, most of the damage they took was from the Lord of Death from Spirit Leaves they were hit with. And over here, my White King is finally moving back. Graveguard do get rear charged by the Skin Wolves, but I'll be able to push in with Spears shortly. And over here, it's kind of becoming one big mosh pit of an engagement. My Blood Knights are back. I'm just leaving Spears to chase off the Skin Wolves, and in the meantime, pulling Karen Raids back into the fray. And as you can see, the Karen Raids against those Skin Wolves, no model loss, just a handful of HP lost, or a little bit of HP. Purple Son of Zerus goes down. Interesting choice of cast, and being a Vortex, of course, immediately wanders off in the wrong direction. Blood Knights over here, hit by Nahek, doing very well against even the Werkin. And these Skin Wolves with armor are already doing terrified off. With Krell is incredibly useful for that. He's just kind of a deterrent when people try to attack Kemmler. If they don't have immunity to terror, they can get terror out of pretty effectively. In the meantime, just kind of trying to keep Kemmler alive, just trying to avoid dropping zombies when and where I can, just to kind of deny my opponent the ability to capture or to catch Kemmler and just kill him. Over here, Skin Wolf Werkin getting tied down. This one's getting bogged down as well. Now the Karen Knights are in there, going to be causing even more terror. Just completely demolishing these units. Wolfric over here getting bogged down fighting White Kings, that sort of stuff. And I think it, like with the zombies and Kemmler and all that stuff, it definitely showed just how tanky, and of course with Cloak of Smoke and Shadows, shows how tanky Kemmler can be. He managed to escape despite being hit by multiple debuffs. Bruce of the Hound over here dying, and I do believe this is a Soul Blight. And yeah, he was hit by Soul Blight, he was hit by Hunter of Champions from Wolfric, and despite that, Kemmler came out alive. So definitely he can be tanky in certain situations. Probably not equivalent, like in of course not equivalent in a straight up fight to a Vampire Lord, but with his special ability, he can be very, very powerful. Over here, Wolfric's kind of getting beaten down. The Werkin does push in, but he is very low, and he's going to get surrounded. These Skin Wolves with armor are falling apart. Spearmen are coming in kind of at the same time as these Skin Wolves with armor. Actually, I don't tell them to go all the way, and I let them stop, which is definitely a bit of a mistake there. These Graveguard and Spears are just trying to drive off these Skin Wolves with armor, and as you can see, they still have most of their models. They're only missing one model, despite being down to about a quarter or a third of their HP. Over here, Blood Knights are finally swarming around the Shaman Sorcerer of Death. He's not going to be able to escape. He's falling apart very, very quickly, and my opponent's army does begin to rout and shatter completely, basically due to army losses. So definitely a bit of an interesting game. My opponent definitely brought a comp I was not expecting. The whole bunch of Skin Wolves. I think Skin Wolves can work. It basically means you're running a kind of cavalry contingent. And with armor, Undead don't have too much armor piercing in their roster. Most of the Undead armor piercing. Cryptards got nerfed. And you'd have to bring Graveguard with great weapons, but those are rather expensive, and they don't have anti-large. They don't really have vampires don't really have any anti-large with armor piercing. And they definitely, Skin Wolves can perform, and most of it's large, so it's a fairly easy target for Skin Wolves to tear through. So they're potentially very good. I do think that Maws of Savagery would have been a good pick, but perhaps downgrading the Marauder Berserkers and throwing in a Maws of Savagery would have helped a little bit. Because the armor piercing, for example, against the Blood Knights could have been absolutely huge. Because otherwise the Blood Knights just kind of tank through the damage that the Skin Wolves do when they're backed up by Karen Raids and Skeletons, or Skeleton Spearmen. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with this comp. Obviously, I didn't get to try it out against Mammoth, and that's definitely something I'm looking forward to doing. Obviously, there was fortunately no Fate of Buna or such a spell against the Karen Race, because that could have been absolutely devastating. That could have been terrible. As I mentioned before, the reason I'm running 2 Karen Races instead of, say, 1 unit of Hex Race is because I can run 2 of them, and they're not as susceptible. If I lose 1 unit to, say, a Fate of Buna or a Transmutation of Let, or a final transmutation, it's not going to be as devastating of a blow as if I lose both Karen Ray, or just get 1 Hex Wraith unit and it gets hit and I lose it. That can deal with all my that can end all my Mammoth counters instantly, and that's definitely not something I want to avoid. So yeah, I think this is a solid build because it's pretty flexible. It can flex against whatever your opponent sort of brings. Generally pretty satisfied with it. I'm not entirely convinced on the Skeletons. I think they might be better. The money here might be a little better spent on, say, an extra unit of Graveguard and a unit of Skeletons maybe. But other than that, yeah, definitely pretty pleased. Bit of a swarmy build. None too impressive kill counts except on the Graveguard, which completely thrashed the Marauder Berserkers. They're very well built for that, with their high armor and high melee defense. Skin Wolves did a lot of damage to the skeletons, but they kind of fell flat on their face against the Karen Wraiths and the Blood Knights. They do rely a bit on physical resistance and armor, and obviously these guys rely on armor, but Karen Wraiths bypass both of those two factors. Hex Wraiths would even cause extra damage because they cause fire, but once again, don't want to bring two of those. Or don't want to bring one of those and risk the massive penalties that would incur. But yeah, good game to my opponent. Hopefully I do get to try this build out soon against the Norscan who runs Mammoths, but I do think this is a solid build, and yeah, definitely had a lot of fun here. So good game to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like or subscribe down below. If you have any comments, criticism, any ideas on how I can improve my content, always looking for ways to improve my gameplay, so be sure to leave those down in the comments as well. And I'll respond as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate you all for watching, and bye for now.